Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn, Hinderacker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderacker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. The two most important things people ask me all about, they tell me, Lynn, I need some help on this, on creativity and on getting new prospects. We're going to talk about that at the beginning of this particular show, WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderacker. Thanks so much for being here, and we've got a lot to discuss today. I'm also going to introduce a brand new sponsor to you called Power Dynamics, focused primarily, by the way, on the legal industry or the attorneys here in the Nebraska area. And then we're also going to talk about one of the biggest crises, I'm going to call it a civic crisis, and that has to do with downtown, whether it's downtown Omaha, Lincoln, or across any community across the state. We're all struggling. Everybody, by the way, across the entire country does not know what we are going to do about all these empty buildings downtown. It's a huge issue. By the way, the office occupancy rates, during 2020, 2021, there's about 25%. They've climbed up now, 35%. I think 45%, give or take, is the current occupancy rate on the most of the commercial buildings downtown. But people are pulling out. People are changing their mind about the downtown experience. It's a very bad sign. And Omaha, by the way, has gone above and beyond. They've done some incredible stuff down at the riverfront, of course, and lots of other cool things over near Cummings there, just on the northerly edge with Paul Smith's real estate development group and the area with the baseball stadium over there. So there's a lot of good stuff happening in Omaha, Nebraska, but in the end, you're still walking into buildings, lobbies, restaurants. What restaurants, really? Until you get to the old market, there's no restaurants downtown to speak of, right? And there's nobody enjoying the dining experience. So we have a really serious problem in reallocating space, people pulling back, the whole issue with hybrids. Some of them are going home, some of them are coming in, and there's just no clear approach. All business owners can do, and building owners, property managers, they're all sitting around saying, oh, please, get some of these people motivated so they'll come back into downtown. The mayor of New York, by the way, went out of his way a few months ago and said, we need you to come back to your offices. We need you to come downtown to Manhattan and spend some money. We have huge, cash flow issues, debt, all kinds of commercial building issues. And we really need you to come back and re-inhabit that portion of New York. And we have the same problem, kind of on a much smaller scale, of course. But that's quite a show, and we're going to talk about that specifically on the back end of this show, because it really leads somewhere. And by the way, you're going to hear information here that nobody else knows. I just want to tell you that. I don't know how to say it in any other way, but you're going to hear some things today, especially about that topic that you've never heard before, and they are solutions. We're going to go right to the solution and the type of people we want to attract to Omaha, Nebraska, and particularly have them live and work downtown. That's later, by the way. So we're going to talk to you today, the first half of our show, and again, thanks for watching. We have two things that are on our minds, right? We're trying to restore momentum coming out of COVID, of course, and some people are. Some people are doing fairly good. Some people tell me, business is not bad. The inflation is not as bad as we thought it would be, and we're hoping that continues that way. We don't really see recession. Now, that may be down the road a little bit, maybe a few months down the road, that might be a more viable alternative. But right now, it doesn't feel like we're in a recessionary mode. We're actually, consumer spending is up, and wages are up. I think 4.4% was the increase in wage, and inflation was up 4%. So by a little bit, workers are finally making a little bit more and should be able to afford some of the products at the grocery store. But nevertheless, it's not easy. Now, here are the two issues I've been teasing you throughout the first half of the show. The first one is creativity, and we'll say / innovation, all right? We at Nebraska believe that innovation is the key factor for success and the evolution of Nebraska. But nobody jumps on the bandwagon because They don't know how to innovate. They don't know how to pull it off. They don't know how to create a minimum viable prototype. They don't know how to experiment. They don't know how to do research. So they feel funny saying, yeah, innovate, good idea, right? Other states around us, by the way, are outperforming. Colorado is very innovative, doing a lot of new product rollouts in their business sector. And over in Iowa, I just want to stop and say, I'm an Iowa boy. They are doing an incredible job in Iowa. Very, very similar kind of place to Nebraska, of course. But they have innovation events and forums, and they give out Academy Awards to companies that innovate. Now, some people say, that's all a bunch of show business. It's not really meaningful. But it does, in fact, look a little more, how shall I say it? A little more exciting, more interesting, and certainly is going to be effective in attracting young professionals. I don't want to say that word too much because I want to be talking about them all the time, pretty much the rest of the show. But anyway, so what are the two issues now? We mentioned creativity and innovation. The other one is just getting customers, getting in the door. I've talked to people that are veterans like myself in the marketing and sales area, and they say, man, it is really tough to get their attention, to get a prospect's attention. And the marketing department, even if it's just one person, whatever, has to be working closely with the sales department. Sales department people, as you already know, are already saying, the leads aren't any good. Nobody really does that. It's not worth it, blah, blah, blah. But of course, we all know that marketing and sales have to work together, and they have to concoct their plan together going forward. It's not an easy thing to do, and maybe a little bit harder than it ever has been. Although the marketing obviously allows us to do more target marketing, email, Facebook, all the directories where our brand should be showing up. SEO is changing. That's rapidly going because of Google's changes. And then, of course, we've got AI, artificial intelligence. I love the word that precedes it, which is generative, right? Generative AI. In other words, creative. And it's pretty exciting and a little awe-inspiring to see the technology generating or creating interesting little articles and essays and answering tough and complicated questions. That's interesting stuff. So I've got two physical things, right? Because talking about getting in the door, that's one thing, and thinking of ideas that will blow your customer away. It's not enough anymore to just, incremental. Tell you what, we'll lower the price and make the packaging 10% better. Ho-hum, right? Ho-hum. We've got to go, interesting, I attended a conference a while back. Everybody was talking about getting a 10% increase in sales, double-digit growth, right? Not bad, crank out another 10%, maybe even a little bit better. And then this guy got up and he took all this stuff, he threw it off the stage. He said, I don't want 10. And that's not about 10% better. It's 10 times, 10 times better. And we're going to speak the rest of the day about what you have to do to increase your business 10 times. Now, it's very interesting, and here this gets back to this. I can't wait to do this. I know this looks kind of corny and weird, but here we are. Here we are looking at this frame with no front and no back, obviously. I'm right here. And the interesting thing is, get outside the box. Don't think inside the box. Escape the box, right? And then years after that was, had been brought up as a popular phrase, then somebody said, wait a minute, whoa. We really do actually want you to think inside the box. Otherwise, you're all over the place. You're thinking of all kinds of crazy, flaky, inoperable, impractical ideas. We don't want to be that far outside the box. We want to come up with some ideas that are actually practicable and can be executed and maybe generate some business or a little greater share of market. So that's what we have here. This is really quite an interesting exercise. One of the things I enjoy doing most, by the way, is kind of facilitating meetings about innovation and what can we do next year and how can we steal customers. But more importantly, of course, everybody knows a little by this time about blue ocean strategy. Blue ocean came out of Harvard University several years ago, and their deal is take your resources, whatever you have, could be people, ideas, equipment, whatever, and discover undiscovered market segments. In other words, get out here and start talking to people. You have to configure, of course, what it is that you're trying to sell so it's relevant to them. But so we're really talking now about exponential growth. That's what they're bringing to the party. Instead of competing over here on price, they call that the red ocean or the bloody red ocean, where you have to knock it down. Well, go 3% underneath our competitor's price over here. Nonsense. Go over here, find a different application, a different market segment. Could be huge, could be millions of people, whatever it is. But that's a really, really interesting idea. And then, of course, one of the more important things is we've got a product to sell. Everybody likes it. Everybody thinks it's pretty good. We have a warranty on it. People seem to appreciate that. The price has been going up very slowly over the years because, of course, we have costs that are wrapped up in that, and we got to get our margins, right? All the way down the thing. But what is interesting about this is services, right? The intangible things, the knowledge stuff, right? What can we sell to our clients that is relevant to the purchase of the product, but is an add-on, is completely different? Now, I'm not going to use the word warranty. That's really a lame idea, but how to install it yourself, how to turn it into multiple performance, does something else that's kind of interesting. You know, how to form a partnership, or how to bring an outsider in and have them pay for part of the product and share the costs in some particular way. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things you can do that add value to your company. They don't take anything away from your core product or your core operation, and that makes you broader, more influential, bigger footprint, and simply more respected as a brand. All right, so that's the first thing, is think uniquely and creatively about what you do. And by the way, you might want to just take the product and put it over here and say, sorry, we got all this equipment over here, we have all these vendors, all these people that we know and so on. Let's create something else. Let's create something that goes with this, so the same people we've been talking to would probably be interested, but it has nothing to do really with this. I mean, that's a very interesting thing to go through, right? Here's another final thing I'll bring up, and then we'll go to the next piece, which is pretend you are our competitor, right? And they're all sitting around right now and with a beer or a pop or whatever, and their boss is saying, what about those guys? How can we take their customers away from them? So you think, if I were a competitor of us, what would I do to steal 25% of our business? How could I provide a flanking move? Some area where we're vulnerable and we're not really thinking too much about it, and boom, all of a sudden here they come with a product or a service that basically out of here, right? So it's a very interesting exercise. I've done it for a lot. Emotionally, you know, a lot of people sit in businesses, they're very linear, logical, engineers, you know, rational, 1, 2, 3, etc. But then there's a whole nother group that are misunderstood and really not respected enough, and they focus on emotions. How does it feel to work with us or that company? How do they act? Are they superior and arrogant and kind of make us feel diminutive, so to speak? Or are they really good collaborators? We like to just work with them because they value and respect our opinion about whatever the product, whatever we're doing. So I just want to say this right now. This is a very tough thing. A good marketer can make it easier. Yes, you can get leads. Really, it's really a more matter of feeling somebody and watching the pattern. Have they opened the email newsletter? You know, I have some people I've been sending out email newsletters for quite some time, my partner and I. And I do have people that open up the newsletter, Nebraska newsletter, right, for they like 92% of the time, right? Or 82% of the time they open up the newsletter. By the way, they don't click much. That's an interesting thing, but the fact of the matter is you can find this information, and it gives you an enormous amount of confidence. You send the salesperson out there, and then this is the next thing, right? Instead of walking in and saying, hi, everybody, I'm with blah, 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 ABC company or whatever, and you like our newsletter, I thought I might say hello and see if we can't sell you something. Probably not, you see. The first time, by the way, that you do see them, it would be so cool if you had I'm going to call it a white paper, or maybe a video, depends on, what you like to operate. But with a white paper is kind of cool, but maybe one page, right? You could make that, or somebody could teach you how to make that. It might take 2 or 3 hours. 2 or 3 hours. But you're going to give it to everybody in that industry, aren't you? So let's say you're talking about commercial electrical contractors. All right, that's an interesting category. And some of them are focused on big projects, real estate. Others are small little residential deals. But the bottom line is they know they have problems. They don't want to tell an outsider. But by looking at a succinct, I'd say a white paper, it's a description of the industry. So you don't have to say, well, what's your problem, man? Tell me what your problem is and maybe we can solve it. That's okay, but early on in the cycle, it might be helpful to say, your industry is struggling. They have about a 10% fall off because of supply side problems, or they can't get workers, or the business is changing and you're being left behind, whatever it is. So here's the industry. This is the industry situation. And as you can see down there, we can work with you on this and this and this. But you see all that, and take a look at that, and I'll drop by in a couple days and get your opinion. I'd like to know what you think about that. At this point, we still haven't even told them hardly anything about our business. But finally, before we go into the break, I want to share this one thing. A lot of companies like to describe themselves, we do this and we do that and we help people with this and with that. Unfortunately, there's another competitor and they're saying roughly the same thing. And the left hemisphere of the brain of the buyer prospect, that person is going, oh, something wrong. He said the wrong word. He doesn't understand it right. You can't help it. The left side of the brain is the inner judge, the critic, and they're just cutting you down while you introduce yourself. They can't help it, right? But if you choose to use a symbol or a metaphor, like, we are the battery for our clients, and we are the flashlight for our clients. You say with a little bit of a smile, okay? We are the battery, we are the flashlight for our customers. Just an example. Now that they automatically understand, they're going to energize my team or energize our company. That's good. Flashlight, that means they're going to look out in front of us. That's a good thing, right, for this particular kind of vendor. So I just want to share that as I wrap up here and we go into our promotional sponsor, that using metaphors pushes the customer into the right brain mode, and the right brain mode allows them to really absorb and pay attention to what you're saying instead of discounting what you're saying. So there you go. We talked about creativity, talked about innovation, talked about some prospecting tactics, and a couple things that you can use to get more customers and really generate a higher percentage of leads. All right. WowBiz Nebraska is brought to you this particular week by a new company, a new business called Power Dynamics. That's spelled with an X at the end of Dynamics. Power Dynamics focuses primarily on accountants, possibly attorneys and possibly accountants as well. So one more time, a new service designed to help attorneys get more clients, prospecting by the way, help them understand themselves and understand how people who are not attorneys, not that sharp, not that driven, that's not their mindset, but they're sitting right there, they will pay for service. You've got to figure out them instead of focusing on the system and yourself. And attorneys need help with that. They want to understand, why does this person act like this when I've got this whole thing figured out, see? Because they're intellectuals and achievers, and many times the clients are not that particular mindset. Then thirdly, it's going home. A lot of attorneys go home after work befuddled, a little depressed. They're under pressure to get more fees, get more clients, wrap up this case, start a new case, and there never seems to be complete fulfillment. There is a burnout factor for many, many attorneys, and especially young younger attorneys that are not used to just go, go, go endlessly. So they need help with their mental health, their ability to kind of get the big picture, understand the world at large, not just the number of fees and hours they're putting in at the office. Those are three distinct issues that attorneys have. Creighton University doesn't teach you how to handle any of those situations. So that's a service that is provided by Power Dynamics. Very helpful in easing and improving performance and culture right there in the law firms of Nebraska. Power Dynamics, look for it. It's posted on the Nebraska site, and you'll appreciate that if you run a law firm or if you're a staffer at any law firm across the state of Nebraska. All right. Well, we're wrapping up our show here today, and so we don't have a lot of time to talk about the thing that I mentioned earlier. My name is Lynn Hinderacker. Again, thank you for tuning in on this show. The key issue, as you all know, I mentioned it briefly, is that the downtown factor, the downtown area of Omaha, is really not that much different than the downtown in Manhattan or Chicago or San Francisco. They all struggle with the same thing. They can't get people out on the streets. They don't want to come into the offices. They found a way to do their business productively at home, and it just kind of becomes a new cycle, a new routine. But it has dramatic and complicated implications for city fathers and municipal planners and all the people that are trying to figure out how to make the cash move through the tax system. Commercial property taxes are down, okay, big time. And that has a tremendous implication. So here's what I'm going to tell you this. There is a group of people out there, 50 million young professionals. We'll call them knowledge workers. They're called urban naturals. They're very different. They have a different value system, different worldview than perhaps what we would call the moderns, the go, money-oriented people, and also traditionals or heartlanders. So we have three people in America, again, heartlanders, sales-oriented, financially driven people called moderns, and then, of course, the urban naturals. And they have a different attitude. They focus on self-actualization. They focus on living in buildings where they can be fixed up and rehabbed and so on. They care about succeeding, but they're not achievement-driven. They really want to do their thing. And most importantly, they're eclectic in their design orientation. They like to put together opposites. It could be steel over here or brushed aluminum in the kitchen, and then primal wood, beautiful primal wood right next to the steel and so on. And the contrast, and this is it, this is the single biggest idea in our show tonight, is the importance of contrast and what happens to human beings when they see opposite things pulled together, opposite people, opposite materials, opposite fabrics, opposite colors. And this has been proven, by the way, it's called neuroaesthetics. I'll say that again, neuroaesthetics. So if you have a building, build a building downtown and have wood right next to, maybe metal or steel or concrete or glass, and it actually impacts visual imagery that has high contrast, goes through the retina, believe it or not, of a human being into the visual cortex, deeply embedded in the brain, and the visual cortex scintillates, kind of vibrates, connects with the neurons in your brain now. I'm not talking about somebody over here, I'm talking about you. All when you see a building with wood and metal right together, you walk into an interior, a living room, and you see metal legs and then the wood on top of the cocktail table or whatever it is. All of these stimulate energy, new energy, a release of dopamine in the brain. It'll change your mood. You know, it's a gentle thing to be sure, but it definitely has positive vibes, positive impact on the end. Anybody standing around or going into the building say, hey, I'm going to go to my apartment, going to go to the office. God, I love this place. It's got all this cool contrast, opposites. Oh man, I just told you how to get people into downtown Omaha, how to get them into downtown Manhattan. This is all Nobel Prize winning research, proven 30 years ago by two scientists in Northern Europe, prove what I just shared with you. Visual imagery can impact human emotion in a very positive way. It's an incredible breakthrough. Architects don't know what to do. Engineers, economic developers they've never heard of this. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. We should change everything. All the new should all be, we call it urban natural, neuroaesthetics. Doesn't matter what you call it. Let me tell you, it is the key to success in economic development and talent attraction. So we end on a flourish. That's fantastic. My name is Lynn Hinderacker. This is WowBiz Nebraska. You're hearing stuff here you don't hear anywhere else. And obviously check us out on Nebraska. That's N-E-W-B-R-A-S-K-A, Nebraska.com. You'll enjoy the content there. We'll see you next time right here on WowBiz Nebraska. Thanks so much for watching.